Hi everyone, my name is Claire McComey, and my teammates are Joy Young, Taylor Redmond, and Hannah Kawamura. As we all likely know, climate change is a growing problem in our world today, and a permanent solution has not yet been found. This is why for our project, our group chose to conduct an experiment to help find out which space-efficient plants are the most effective at reducing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which plays a main role in global warming. Carbon dioxide can be emitted into the atmosphere through many common activities, such as driving a car, burning fires, or even breathing. We chose to do space-efficient plants because they have not been researched as much as larger plants like trees, but can still play a big role in reducing carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere. We ran 4 experiments, one with moss, one with a succulent, one with an ivy plant, and one with just soil, which was our control group. We hypothesized the box with moss would have the lowest concentration of carbon dioxide at the end of testing. We tested air in boxes with each of these plants weekly for about 4.5 months. And at the end of the testing period, our results supported our hypothesis. The moss had the lowest concentration of carbon dioxide in the air.
We created 4 allocation boxes that allowed water to the plants throughout the experiment while also containing the air inside the box. This consisted of 2 different sized containers. The bigger one was upright and held the water. The smaller one was upside down so that the water sealed its opening. We drilled a hole in each of the smaller containers for testing. This hole was covered with tape. Each plant was placed inside a black container filled with soil. However, the ivy needed more soil than the rest because of its size. The plants were positioned on metal grid stands that were placed on the water. For testing the amount of carbon dioxide inside the boxes, we used a manual hand pump and carbon dioxide detection tubes. We attached the tube to the pump, peeled back the tape, stuck the other side of the tube inside the hole to test it.
The results for our experiment implied that out of ivy, moss, a succulent, and soil, garden moss is the most efficient at absorbing CO2. In the beginning of our experiment, carbon dioxide increased in all the boxes, but over time, the CO2 levels decreased in each test group. At the end of the experiment, the final ppm levels for each test group was 500 ppm for the moss, 2000 ppm for the soil, 2500 ppm for ivy, and 5000 ppm for the succulent.
Throughout our experiment, the amount of carbon dioxide in each of the allocation chambers did increase, but at the same time, the box with the least amount of carbon dioxide was the one housing the moss, thus supporting our hypothesis. We figured since moss has the greatest leaf surface area, it can catch more pollutants. Since the moss can catch more pollutants, they should also be able to absorb more carbon dioxide because the stomata, or small openings in the leaves that absorb the CO2, are greater in number because of the greater surface area. One factor we didn't take into account while conducting this experiment is the bacteria that live in the soil. The bacteria that lives in the soil emits carbon dioxide. Because of the increase in carbon dioxide, it is slightly unclear whether the moss really did reduce the level of carbon dioxide, or if it was because the amount of carbon dioxide the bacteria emitted in that box was less than the other boxes. For more accurate data, we would recommend to use more plants and make the experiment on a larger scale. Another change that could be made to eliminate the issue of bacteria excreting CO2 is by using aquaponics. Since aquaponics don't use soil, there will be no bacteria to change the levels of CO2.
In conclusion, our research suggests that garden moss can absorb CO2 most efficiently. This information can be used in the future for incorporating plants into building design or structures that can house plants to help the reduction of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Further research should be done to determine the quantity of a plant that would be needed to make a significant difference over a period of time to our atmosphere. Also, it would be beneficial to test more plant species to create a larger and more diverse data set.